Welcome to your favorite Youth Tales 18. Let's dive into today's story. I installed cameras at home without telling my wife and caught her cheating. I hadn't experienced a quiet house in years. With work, the kids, and Rose around, there was always noise and activity. But this weekend was different. Rose took our two boys, Ethan and Jake, to visit her parents in Florida. She had been planning this trip for weeks, making sure the kids packed everything, booking flights, and organizing all the details. I decided to stay home because work was really busy, and honestly, a peaceful house sounded like a nice break. On the first night alone, I made myself a simple dinner, plopped down on the couch, and soaked in the silence. There were no cartoons blaring in the background, no bedtime arguments, just me and my thoughts. Around 9 p.m., a knock on the door broke my tranquility. I opened it to find my neighbor, Greg. He's in his late 50s, a retired cop who still acts like he's on duty, always keeping an eye on things. "Hey, Jeff," he said, stepping onto the porch without waiting for me to invite him in. "I saw Rose and the kids leave earlier. You're flying solo, huh?" "Yeah," I replied, a rare moment of peace. Greg chuckled and leaned in a bit. "I just wanted to let you know I put up some new security cameras around my place. Have you ever thought about getting some?" I frowned. Security cameras? I mean, we live in a safe neighborhood. Greg shrugged. "That's what everyone thinks until something happens. You'd be surprised how many break-ins occur when people let their guard down." He tapped his temple. "A guy I know, just 4 blocks away, had his house broken into a couple of days ago. Just something to think about." I laughed and shook my head. "I appreciate the concern, Greg, but I think I'll be fine." "Suit yourself," he said, raising his hands. "Just remember, being prepared is better than being sorry." After he left, I closed the door, dismissing the idea of cameras. But as I lay in bed that night, I couldn't shake the thought. What if someone was in my house and I didn't even know it? By morning, that idea had turned into something I couldn't shake off. After browsing some online deals, I decided to buy a set of cameras that could stream live video to my phone. I told myself it wasn't paranoia. It was just being cautious. When the cameras arrived, I spent the afternoon setting them up. I placed one at the front door, another in the backyard, and one inside near the living room. I even tested them with the app, watching myself move around in real time. Feeling satisfied, I put my phone away and went on with my day, oddly relieved. What I didn't realize at the time was that I had just prepared myself to witness something I was never supposed to see. The next few days went by quickly. The house was peaceful, and I enjoyed the quiet. But when Rose and the kids came back on Sunday afternoon, the silence was finally broken. Rose walked in with the kids running around her, laughing and shouting, filling the house with that familiar chaos. I could hear Ethan and Jake bickering over who got to sit where on the couch, while Rose's gentle voice tried to calm them down. I smiled to myself, watching everything unfold. It felt like a normal family moment, and everything seemed right again. I hadn't realized how much I missed it until it returned. The house had felt too empty, but now it felt complete again. I hadn't thought about the cameras at all during those days. I was just happy to be with my family and back in our usual routine. Little did I know, that moment of peace would be the last time things felt normal. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I was at my desk at work, going through emails, and the thought of the cameras suddenly came back to me. Maybe it was that nagging feeling in the back of my mind, but I decided to check the footage, just a quick look. I opened the camera app on my phone and started scrolling through the clips. Everything seemed normal until I stopped on one from the previous Saturday afternoon. By morning, that idea had turned into something I couldn't shake off. After browsing some online deals, I decided to buy a set of cameras that could stream live video to my phone. I told myself it wasn't paranoia. It was just being cautious. When the cameras arrived, I spent the afternoon setting them up. I placed one at the front door, another in the backyard, and one inside near the living room. I even tested them with the app, watching myself move around in real time. Feeling satisfied, I put my phone away and went on with my day, oddly relieved. What I didn't realize at the time was that I had just prepared myself to witness something I was never supposed to see. The next few days went by quickly. The house was peaceful, and I enjoyed the quiet. But when Rose and the kids came back on Sunday afternoon, the silence was finally broken. Rose walked in with the kids running around her, laughing and shouting, filling the house with that familiar chaos. I could hear Ethan and Jake bickering over who got to sit where on the couch, while Rose's gentle voice tried to calm them down. I smiled to myself, watching everything unfold. It felt like a normal family moment, and everything seemed right again. I hadn't realized how much I missed it until it returned. The house had felt too empty, but now it felt complete again. I hadn't thought about the cameras at all during those days. I was just happy to be with my family and back in our usual routine. Little did I know, that moment of peace would be the last time things felt normal. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I was at my desk at work, going through emails, and the thought of the cameras suddenly came back to me. Maybe it was that nagging feeling in the back of my mind, but I decided to check the footage, just a quick look. I opened the camera app on my phone and started scrolling through clips. Everything seemed normal until I stopped on one from the previous Saturday afternoon. I didn't expect much from my day, just the usual routine. Rose was up with the kids, cooking breakfast, and I thought maybe that guy would show up again, or maybe he wouldn't. I quickly clicked through the video timestamps, skipping over the same old scenes of the kids playing outside and Rose cleaning the kitchen. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary until I noticed the bedroom footage. My stomach dropped. I clicked on the file, my heart racing. At first, all I saw was Rose standing by the bed, and then a few seconds later, that same man walked in. I gripped my phone tightly, my fingers starting to hurt. Rose didn't seem surprised at all. She didn't ask him why he was there or try to push him away. Instead, she reached for him. I felt my breath catch in my throat as I watched them kiss, pulling each other close. They whispered things I couldn't hear, but I didn't need to. The way they looked at each other and moved together said it all. Then, one by one, their clothes came off. I shut my phone, my hands trembling, and a chill ran through me. This wasn't just some random guy or a moment of weakness. It was something much deeper. I sat there, staring blankly at the wall, trying to process how long this had been going on right in front of me. I wanted to scream, to break something, to wake her up and demand answers. But what could she possibly say that would make this hurt any less? Nothing. There was nothing left to say. The next morning, I didn't say a word to Rose. I went through the motions, made coffee, watched the kids eat breakfast. Rose acted completely normal, laughing with Ethan and Jake, kissing them goodbye for school as if nothing had happened. As soon as the door closed behind us, I said, "Sit down." She looked at me, confused. "What? Sit down." Something in my tone must have made her realize I was serious, because she slowly sank onto the couch. I pulled out my phone, opened the video, and handed it to her. She frowned as she took it, but when she pressed play, I watched her closely. Her lips parted slightly, and I could see her breath catch as she understood what she was seeing. The color drained from her face, and she covered her mouth with one hand, her eyes darting between me and the screen. For a moment, she was completely silent. Then, in a shaky voice, she whispered, "Jeff, please." I crossed my arms, waiting for her to say something. She swallowed hard and said it meant nothing, that it was a mistake, and that she still loved me. I let out a bitter laugh. A mistake? A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. This, I gestured to the phone, was a choice you made over and over. Tears filled her eyes as she insisted it didn't mean anything. I interrupted her, my voice low. "But it meant enough for you to bring him into our home, into our bed." I shook my head. "You don't understand, do you? The trust is gone. What you did can't be fixed." She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Jeff, please," she pleaded. her voice breaking. "Don't do this. Don't throw everything away." I stood up, looking down at her. "I'm not the one who threw it away, Rose. You did." I didn't say anything else. I just turned and walked down the hall to the bedroom, the same one that now felt ruined. I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and started packing a few shirts, jeans, and some essentials, just enough to get by for a few days. My hands were steady, but my chest felt empty, like I was watching myself from a distance. Rose stood in the doorway, her eyes red and her lips trembling. "Where are you going?" I zipped up the bag. "I can't stay here." She took a small step forward. "Jeff, please." I brushed past her without looking back. I didn't stop until I was in my car, the engine running. My mind was a mess, but I knew exactly. I walked past her without glancing back and didn't stop until I was in my car, the engine humming. My thoughts were all over the place, but I knew exactly where I was headed. My mom's house. My mom. When she opened the door, her eyes widened in surprise at the sight of me with a bag over my shoulder. "Jeff, what's going on?" I took a deep breath and asked, "Can I come in?" She stepped aside right away, worry written all over her face. As soon as I sat down, the words poured out of me. The cameras, the footage, the betrayal. She listened, her face changing from shock to sadness to quiet anger. "Oh, Jeff," she finally said, reaching out to hold my hand. "I'm so sorry." I nodded, trying to swallow the lump in my throat. "I'm done, Mom. I can't go back." She nodded in understanding and said, "Then don't." The next morning, I went straight to a lawyer to file for divorce. It felt strange, but I didn't hesitate. I wasn't looking for second chances or explanations. I just wanted out. But as I left the lawyer's office, a question kept bothering me. Who was that man? So, I decided to hire a private investigator. I gave him all the details I had, descriptions, the footage, anything that could help. A few days later, he called me back. "I found him," he said. I tightened my grip on the phone. "Who is he?" There was a short pause, like he was preparing me for something big. "His name is Mark. He's a teacher at your kid's school." I couldn't believe it. A teacher. Not just any guy, but someone who saw my sons every day. Someone who smiled at them in the hallways while sneaking around with their mother. I sat in my car outside my mom's house, gripping the steering wheel, trying to calm the chaos inside me. But it was impossible. I had to confront her one last time. That evening, I drove back to the house. As soon as I walked in, Ethan and Jake ran up to me, clearly happy to see me. I noticed Rose standing frozen near the kitchen. She hadn't expected me. I crouched down and hugged my boys tightly. "I love you both so much," I said, my voice steady even though my heart felt heavy. "But I need to talk to your mom. I need to have a quick chat with your mom, okay?" They hesitated, glancing between us, then slowly headed to their room. Once they were gone, I turned to Rose. "You're cheating on me with our son's teacher," I said, my voice low but sharp. "His teacher, Rose. I can't believe this." She swallowed hard. "Jeff, please, I interrupted her. "I know who he is. I know everything. And I want you to know that I've already filed for divorce." Her eyes went wide. "You what?" "It's over." I let my words sink in. "You made your choice, and now I'm making mine." For a moment, she looked like she wanted to argue, to plead, to explain, but there was nothing left to say. This place didn't feel like home anymore. The next morning, I went straight to the school and asked to meet with the principal. When I showed him the proof, I made it clear that a teacher having an affair with a student's mom was totally unacceptable. The principal looked disturbed and promised that action would be taken. By the end of the day, Mark was fired. The divorce process went quickly. We both knew there was no way to fix this. Rose tried at first with apologies, tears, and promises, but they meant nothing. She had destroyed our family, and nothing she said could change that. We divided everything fairly, but she kept the house while I moved into a small apartment downtown. The hardest part was figuring out custody. I didn't want to take the boys away from their mom, but I also couldn't stand the thought of seeing her every day. In the end, we agreed on shared custody, weekends with me and weekdays with her. It wasn't perfect, but at least I still had my boys. The day the divorce was finalized, I walked out of the courthouse feeling lighter. The pain was still there, and the betrayal stung, but I wasn't trapped anymore. I had my freedom, my dignity, and a future that I could rebuild, and that was enough. Thank you for listening.